Hey, it's Brain Muffin, and we're back. It's another day of reading some crazy articles about Star Wars, because why not? How Star Wars Resistance is using its new time period to its advantage. Now, when I first saw this, I thought they meant the 10 o'clock at night, and we were going to get something that supposedly was targeted at kids, but wasn't going to quite be that. Maybe some, preteens, or maybe some, let's see, for Disney adult, Disney mature audience, 13-year-olds or something. But no. They're talking about when it's set. So a huge chunk of unknown Star Wars lore is about to be explored. Like what the heck happened over those 30 years that everything got undone. That's a huge chunk that I bet you they don't explain at all. And executive producer Justin Ridge can't wait to be part of it. Now, I think this series is going to maybe last a year and then it's going to get canned. Unless it's a lot better than the horrible, horrible trailers. There's been 2 trailers and it just keeps looking worse. Ridge is one of those 3 executive producers on Star Wars Resistance, and IO9 had a chance to speak to him. Is this where I am? IO9gizmodo.com. Unlike Lucas' other animated series, The Clone Wars and Rebels, which, basically were back in time, is best known to take place after Return of the Jedi. So Resistance is going to be after that begins about 6 months before the event. How about we begin 6 months after Return of the Jedi when we start undoing everything, right? No, of course not. Force Awakens. So are they going to explain where Mary Sue comes from at all? I doubt it. Which really set the tone of everything Resistance would become. We know, okay, these things happen, right? Really? All right, let's skip down. The events that lead up to the start with Poe Dameron meeting a young, brash pilot named Kaz Giono. He's not. Does he die? Because he's not in the movies. And recruited him to help the Resistance with a secret mission on a faraway planet. It's a planet filled with all kinds of people, good, bad, really, like everything else in the Star Wars universe. But because of its place in the overall story, there are no Jedi. Well, we don't have any Jedi in The Force Awakens either, except for the last 30 seconds when we get to look at Luke Skywalker and then fade to black. We wanted to have a slice of life in part of the galaxy that wasn't about the Jedi. Well, my goodness, how much of the whole thing is about the Jedi? In the original series, the Jedi are kind of this mythic legend, and we have the last remaining Jedi fighting the last remaining Sith, and Obi-Wan gets killed, and it's not so much I know the third movie is called Return of the Jedi, but it's really about Luke finding his own power and redeeming his father. It's not about Jedi. It's not a story about the Jedi. It just happens to be that Luke becomes a Jedi. Much of Resistance, at least in start, takes place on the Colossus, which is a huge platform on the Outer Rim planet. So it is a platform. So they're all on some oil rig somewhere out in the ocean of some. Okay, where ex-rebels, Imperials, scavengers, scoundrels, and everyone in between hang out and drink. What? All kinds of hotshot pilots and high stakes races. Oh my gosh! So that flying through rings, it's really gonna be Superman from Nintendo 64. Oh my goodness! I thought that was a joke. All right, the setup obviously opens the door for dozens of new characters who all die by the end because they're not in any of the movies. Now I found it very interesting. I don't know if someone's trying to be like a BB-8. I don't know what this is. This is pretty funny. I'm really excited about this time period because it's kind of an interesting hybrid. Ridge said, we have some of the old tech with the old ships. All we have are copies of the old tech. There is nothing new. It's just rehashes of the old stuff. But now we're also going into this new time period. It's not new. It's 6 months before The Force Awakens. Now, if you said, say, 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, didn't it say 6 months before The Force Awakens? It wasn't like 10 years. 6 months. That's not really that new a time period. 10 years after the Return of the Jedi would be a bit of a new time period as we're trying to rebuild the Republic and probably still finding. At the end of World War II, if I remember correctly, I think it was like something like 5 or 8 years. It was a significant amount of time that Nazi sympathizers were still blowing up soldiers and stuff in Germany. And for the most part, obviously, they were useless gestures, but people got killed and, there were bombings and stuff like that. So, it wouldn't be odd to have a year, say 5 or 10 years after the Return of the Jedi, some missions to weed out Imperials, maybe even find some resources, new allies, new races to discover. No, we're going to sit on a platform and have races. This is dumb. All right, so let's get back to the article, and I'll stop digressing. Not everything is a mix between the eras, though. Ridge and his team thought it was important to have some very recognizable connections to the new Star Wars movies, and that's why Poe Dameron and Captain Phasma will appear on the show. It's only 6 months before The Force Awakens. Of course, Poe Dameron and Captain Phasma have to appear. How long has Finn been training before he it's not like he was, well, apparently he was a janitor, so they must have just grabbed him and said, go to Jakku and shoot people. We know we needed to have some things overlap a bit. The whole thing is an overlap. And to really feel like, oh, this is Star Wars. It just happened in a different location. Oh, my gosh. People, the writers of these articles and this mindset act like Star Wars happened like on aboard one ship over a weekend, as opposed to a minimum of 5 years in the original timeline, maybe even as much as 6 or 7. And then you had the prequels, there were dozens, all these worlds, and you had different things where they went, and you had multiple factions fighting over it. People get all wrapped up in it's all about politics. Well, look at the fall of any empire. It's all political intrigue. That's what's driving the fall. Anyway, people don't get it. We knew we needed to have things. Okay, I just read that, and to really feel like I read that too. Beyond those two characters, just how connected Resistance will be to Star Wars is a very large mystery. Really, they're going to try and rip off everything. So the ring chase, it's going to be some version of pod racing or something like that. I get it that there's no Jedi because, at this point Luke's gone. So the thought of a Jedi Academy, so that would have been something interesting. And I guess perhaps that's what they're getting at with the Star Wars. It's not Rebels, the Clone Wars. There's a lot of Jedi. Well, because it's taken place at the fall of the Republic, basically, and you've got armies and factions, and the Jedi are, have got their head up their butts, and but that's what's going on. But look at the original trilogy, right? You have some very good setup in a backwater world on Tatooine in a bar, essentially, and that sets up the whole movie. So this is not new, and it's just more trying to really, member berries. That's all they're really trying to cash in on. However, it's very quick explain that. Well, anything is possible to only bring in movie characters if the situation called for it. Well, you have Poe Dameron, so you're going to have to bring in Leia. He's part of the Resistance. She's the leader. She's General Leia. Oh, my goodness. The main focus was really Kaz and his family here on the station, which is a Jedi. How many times we're going to hear this over and over in a Jedi-free environment? Yeah, no kidding. Because Luke has run off like a little bitch, and Kylo is, oh my goodness. So that we already have the rise. Again, set this 5-10 years earlier, and we have the rise of the First Order, or the secret. So somehow the secret rise of the First Order, yet they have the resources to literally build a weapon inside of a planet that they can move around. So they have enough energy to move that in mass. And oh my goodness, the main focus really Kaz and his. I just read that. I keep repeating myself. I'm just going to skip forward in the middle comment. Whether or not characters from the First Order, Aftermath novels, or anything else appear, we do not know. Well, you're going to have to blend in some of that original say to sure for his cryptic answers. We have lots of stories in mind, so not plural. Hope as always have several reasons. Yeah, this is starting to just sound worse and worse the longer they keep jibber jabbering. Just don't expect those stories to get as dark as the movies aren't really that dark. The movies are stupid. Is by design a show aimed at younger audiences. So we're going to have cutesy BB-8. I'm probably going to have the droid equivalent of fart jokes with BB-8. And, burp jokes and stuff like that. It's our priority to make sure that we're respectful to Star Wars too late and the stories that led up to it. All those stories that Disney just tossed in the trash and said, this is garbage. This is now Legends, and it doesn't exist anymore because we can't make money off of it right away. So we're going to have, good grief. We don't have, this is just worse and worse and worse. This just keeps going downhill. We don't have to deviate away from what we've done before. Why not? You've basically copied the old one. So, deviate would be you'd have to come up with a new idea to deviate. Seven Balance says, whatever. Star Wars Resistance premieres its first 2 episodes at 10 p.m. this Sunday. Okay. Well, I wonder if we have any comments. Oh, we do. Yeah, some of these sites don't allow comments, and it really irritates me. I mean, I don't leave comments because I know it's just, you just start a flame war, but to read what people, but I get this for kids, but good grief, 10 p.m. on a Sunday, yeah, for parents, that's what, they're going to DVR this. I mean, are we in the age of all these ways to record stuff and see things at different times? We're really worried about 10 p.m. on a Sunday. Watching it streaming on the app already. Yeah. That's the other thing too, on demand and all that other stuff. Disney streaming service and makes it feel like Star Wars without stunt casting. You need to fire your writers. Exactly why the new movies don't feel like they can fill a whole galaxy anymore. I feel like this is more for the audience to understand the connections to the universe at large. We could make any story set in the Star Wars universe that feels like Star Wars, but having what does that really mean, feels like Star Wars? I mean, this was one of the things that I didn't like about the prequels because it didn't feel like Star Wars, but other than that, I couldn't explain it. I think it's because they had that snotty-nosed kid, and by the time we get to the Phantom Menace, Lucas is aiming so strongly towards kids because of the merchandising, as opposed to the original series, which was really targeted at young adults, especially the first two movies. And I've heard all kinds of things about the Ewoks, and it was a budget cut, and they really wanted Wookiees and all that other stuff, and that may be true. I've also heard that they're in there to get girls more interested because they're like teddy bears. These things are not, kind of like the panda bear, right? People, oh, it's so cuddly. A panda bear will rip your face off, okay? If in the wild, especially if you come across a mother with young, it's just like a regular sized bear. You're pretty much dead unless you get out of there, and you're going to die horridly. Okay. Bears are very territorial. And so I don't know if I buy that, but that's precisely why it feels, but that's precisely why it feels small now. Everyone knows everybody. Yeah. Can I click? I guess, is there more to click? And I don't know where it went. Hey, we're using an ad blocker. No kidding. And I'm not going to turn it off. What in the world? Everything just changed. Now I've got stuff on the side. Things moved to the right. I got video playing. Oh, that's just awesome. Forget it. But anyway, so yeah, this just looks worse and worse and worse. And they're making the universe smaller and smaller. But I don't really mind people knowing each other. Look at the establishment of Rome as an empire. When they went from, in the Senate, you had, Cleopatra, and you had Mark Antony, and you had Julius Caesar and his adopted nephew, and Gaius. What was the other guy's name? They fought. It's really a handful of individuals running the thing, right? You have all these soldiers and all this fighting going on, but it's not like it's 40 people. It's just a handful. So I'm not really surprised by that, but. Yeah, it's a lot of it's convenient and stuff like that. Because even in the prequels, there's a handful of people that know one another, but there's a lot of people that never interact and may hear bits and pieces. So the universe does feel smaller, and yet they're trying to make it larger. Like the main cast is larger. It doesn't work. You can't have 12 people running around and try and tell a story. You just need a couple. But yeah, this sounds worse and worse as time goes on, and I know, obviously this is not targeted at me. I'm way over past the age. My kids are all too old for it. I don't see it working very well. The animation looks horrible, and the whole premise is dumb. We're going to have races through rings. Yay, Nintendo 64 Superman. Or if it's done right, I guess it's going to be more like, Sonic the Hedgehog or something. So anyway. All right. So thanks for stopping by. If you like this kind of content, please click the like button. Thank you for subscribing and sharing these videos, and appreciate all the views. See you next time. Bye.